So it's Monday morning, we're in Manchester, we're getting soaked. Apparently this truck's got loads of engine warnings on, so we'll get in and have a look. It's a DAF CF model year 17, so let's see what's going on. Right, what we rocking today, boys and girls? So it'd help if we could see the dash, that would always help. And this noise really needs to go away. There we go. Brake lining wear, engine malfunction, and exhaust system malfunction. Awesome! Oh my god, that's annoying. So we've got these errors. Let's get Jaltest from Eclipse Diagnostics plugged in and see what's going on. Are we looking good? So we've got 17 instances of engine protection, 1 for BPV actuator calibrated out of the correct margin, 2 BPV actuator internal faults, and another fault code for 3 BPV actuator internal faults. Well, you can guess what this needs. We're going to need a BPV actuator. Right, let's go blow 3,000 quid on one of these. While we're here, we'll just have a look at the brake lining wear for the customer because I'm nice like that. We'll pick up chassis module rear. We'll just connect to this. We'll start at the back, work our way forwards. What we're going to shoot up to then is measurements, and we'll have a look at the brake pad wear on the drive axle. So brake pad's okay on drive axle left hand side, drive axle right hand side, brake pad's worn. So either the wires rub through or the brake pad's worn. I'll notify the customer that they'll have to get the wheels pulled off on the drive axle right hand side to further investigation on this brake pad wear issue. And we'll go and spend some money in DAF. I'll just throw the cab over. We can have a look at the BPV mechanism and bearing. Does it move? It does move. Is there loads of play in it? Yeah. So this bearing's collapsed. And that's the fault. So we'll get a new one of these, get that fitted tomorrow most probably. Right, let's go to our next job. So we're down in Levenshulme, we've got a DAF Euro 6 to look at now, CF. Apparently it keeps coming up with engine warning, so we'll jump into this now, see if we can see anything. Right, have we got anything on the dash? So we've got nothing on the dash and no warnings. So we'll plug Jaltest in from Eclipse Diagnostics and see what's going on. So we'll do, it's not touchscreen now, Russ, auto VIN identification. This will obtain the VIN automatically. It's Euro 6. And we'll go into engine because he keeps saying it's engine warning. So everything's inactive at the moment. We've got a couple of magnetic valve unit pump, pressure control of the fuel injection rail, NOx before the CAT, implausible value, NOx behind the CAT, message not plausible. We'll test the NOx sense, see as we've got that's behind, post, pre, post. We'll test them both. We'll just test them both. Now you'd think in system checks here we'd have NOx sensors, but we don't have anything like that. So what we'll do is we'll come out of engine and into anti-pollution. We'll connect to anti-pollution, and from here we can go to system checks, nitrous oxide sensors, and we'll do the NOx sensor before CAT to start. So we'll get the cab over now and get this sorted. Have a look at the front, and then we'll slip underneath and have a look at the rear, I think. Let's hope we can get this out. So that's undone now. We'll get this sensor out and we can test it. So the sensor's out the BPV now. I'm just going to hook it through the VTG actuator coolant pipe here. We'll run a test on this sensor because it'll heat up to 800 degrees, so I won't be touching this. What it'll measure now is ppm, parts per million. Obviously there is nothing in the oxygen, and that's what it'll use as a reference value. So we'll go and run this test on Jaltest now and see what happens. The first phase of this test is sensor heating, and then once it's past that test it'll go into the second phase where it'll warm it up to 800 degrees C. Then it'll do a NOx measurement, an O2 measurement, and then it'll cool down. So we'll start this test now and see how we get on. I've removed the sensor from the BPV. The engine is stopped. And the test takes approximately 10 minutes. So it's finished the test now. We've got a precision error here. and it says NOx sensor unstable. What we'll do now is repeat the process and we'll see what happens again. So we'll run this test on this NOx before again. So it's dropped another precision error, NOx sensor unstable. So I think in that case then we'll just replace this NOx sensor. So that's that out. Let's go test it. So that was the front test that we've just done that it's failed. We'll now run a test on the back one. I've removed the NOx sensor so I won't bore you with that. We'll run this test now and see how this one gets on. So our NOx sensor after CAT test has actually finished the 10 minutes because it's cooling the sensor down, unlike the NOx sensor before CAT where it would just cut the test short due to the issue with the sensor. We'll see what the results are on this. So our test's finished for the NOx sensor after CAT. The test state is a pass, the measurement precision on NOx is a pass, and the measurement precision on O2 is a pass. So this might be a tale of two halves. We've got a NOx sensor before CAT that doesn't work, but we've only got one instance of this fault. And then we've got 12 instances of NOx behind the CAT, can message not plausible. So there's something going on with the NOx sensor behind the CAT, but the sensor itself has just passed the test. And then we've only got one fault with the NOx sensor before the CAT, and that failed the test. So we're going to change the NOx sensor before the CAT because this has failed. And then what we're going to do then is have a look at these faults for the NOx sensor behind the CAT at a later date. So that was 2 stops in Manchester today. We now need to head back and pick up some parts, but I've also got some orders to do from the weekend. So the next time I'll see you will be Tuesday morning. We've got a engine ECU to do this morning. So we're going to get this programmed now with central services from Jaltest. But we've got to get it fitted first, so let's get the cab over and get into this. Supposedly, the engine ECU's gone on this. Let's have a look what it's doing. Can we move the steering wheel? Yeah. So the only malfunction we've got now is predictive cruise control. And now even that's gone. So as it is now, the vehicle would start. So we'll just get Jaltest plugged in and see what fault codes we did have. As you can see, the half shaft bolts are here, so it was recovered in. Power's ground and can. That means you're communicating, brilliant. Right, what we got going on today? 06 MX11. And we'll go into engine. They're not your typical engine ECU faults. Let's have a look in. Let's just do a main system scan and we'll see if it's saying can timeout from engine ECU. Can communication after treatment. Can message wait time exceeded, timeout from engine control management unit. Right, okay, so yeah, I would say this is most probably an engine ECU. I just would have expected some more in here. All we'll need to get out here is the dipstick tube, these retaining bolts here for the ECU plugs, and the 4 bolts that hold the ECU to the engine. So let's get onto this, get it out, get the new one in, and then we'll get central services set up. So that's our retaining bolts out for the plugs for the ECU. We'll undo these now and get the 4 bolts out for the ECU. Right, that's all our bolts out. Let's see if we can get this ECU out. See, this is why you've got to take this bit of a harness off here, because you can never get the ECU off and round. So we'll just undo some bolts here, make this a bit more pliable, and this will come out. So that's our old one, done and dusted. Let's get the new one. Right, let's get this on. What I like to do before I fit these is cable tie the rubbers. Been doing this for years, but at least it stops the rubbers popping off when you're trying to wedge the ECU in the block. So that's our engine ECU fitted. Now to program it. So Jaltest have just programmed the engine ECU for us. So this is our only issue we've got left now. in order for us to calibrate the oil level sensor on Euro 6 and model year 17 DAF, unlike new generation DAF, which is self-calibrating, we'll have to run the oil temperature up to 60 degrees now. Once it's reached 60 degrees, we can turn the ignition off and leave it for about 4 hours. We'll then come back, finish this job off for the customer by calibrating the oil level sensor, and then we can get out of here. Jump back into the PCI ECU, go to measurement selection, and we just want oil temperature. So what we'll do now is run this up to 60 degrees. This should then change to yes. So this is plenty hot now. We'll go and turn the truck off and we'll calibrate this later. While we're waiting for that truck to cool down now so we can actually calibrate the oil level sensor, we'll head over to the BPV job and get that boxed off. So we need to get the coolant out of this. We'll throw the old bucket under here, and then we'll put the screwdriver in the drain plug, which is down there. We'll just throw this cab over, make my life a bit easier. Let's get this in here. One of them feel where you're going sort of jobs. We'll just crack the coolant cap. That should see us right. So, BPV. Stupid induction pipe. We'll get this out of the way and then we can get on with what we need to do down here. So, that's better. Now we can get to all this crap. If we're lucky, this will come out and we won't have to undo the plug. Feed a spanner up the wire to get the ring end on, and we can just get it with the open end. So we'll take the NOx sensor off, the temperature sensor, the pressure sensor after turbine pipe, I think that one is. That's before, that's after. So that's after. We've got this coolant pipe here for the 7th injector. We've got to take that out the block there. I'll leave that on there. That clamp and another clamp down there. So let's get to it. Put this cable tight. It should make it easier to manipulate this wire. We want all this wiring out of here. That's loose. This should allow my NOx sensor to twist a bit on here when I undo it now. So I'll have this coolant feed pipe to the BPV off, and then we'll get the return off over there too. Awesome. You're going to come off today. As you can see, someone's already slipped off here, so this looks like a nightmare. Oh, it's gone. She's gone. We'll get some spray on this, I think. Highly effective multi-purpose lubricant. Releases corroded threads. Well, we'll certainly put that to the test, won't we? So I've finally got this nut off this pipe now. We'll remove this 7th injector. I've just cracked off the coolant pipe to it now. And we'll get these 2 bolts out of here and get it out of the way. That's the coolant pipe. Let's have you off the block. So that's a coolant pipe for the 7th injector. We've just got these 2 bolts in here now to undo, and we can get that out of the way. So we'll stick this over here out the way. That shouldn't inhibit us getting that out of there. So now we can work on this temperature sensor here. Well, it's come to this. And as my missus says, it can't be tight if it's liquid. Oh shit. So this temperature sensor is not coming out for love nor money, so what I have done is I've pulled the plug off the side of the block. What we'll do now is de-pin this plug with this terminal tool, and then we can slide the ring end of the spanner down the wire and put the ring end on the nut that's on the sensor. So let's get this de-pinned without breaking anything. Let's pop that in there. So blue is number 1. What's that one? Where's my spanner gone? There. So I'll slide this down here now. And that can fit on there, like so. So what I'm going to do now is pry off the timing casing here, most probably, push down on the bar, and that should then undo our sensor. But we will put this to the test now. Right, so let's get some more spray on now. And we can work this spanner back in two. And hopefully save the customer 130 quid for the sensor. Ta-da! I got it out. Now I've got to remember which way the wires were. So the only thing remaining now is this clamp here. We've just got to get this pipe out of there. And the down pipe clamp. That's it. We can then lift this out of here, get our coolant pipes and seals changed and swapped over, and drop it back in. Oh. Right. So that's this clamp loose. We'll put this and rotate it so it doesn't interfere with our job. We'll get that off the join. This BPV is now loose. Nope. Right. Let's get this out of here. Yeah, well, you're going to get in the way now, aren't you? Let's push that round the back. Helps if you take the plug off for the BPV actuator, Russell. There we go. She's out. Ugh. So let's get into this box. Which way are we looking? That way. So we've got this pipe to change, that pipe to change, and these clips to take off too. So you'd be an idiot just to slip this straight back in there now. So we're going to change this seal on here and the seals on the other one. That's our new seal on there. And we'll have our other pipe off. Another seal to change. Right, we need a gasket for here now. That's this gasket. Let's get that on there. So that's the downpipe sorted. Now this gasket here is for between the BPV and the turbo. We'll just get some silicone sealant on this and get it stuck to the turbo. Bloody Packer, they'll put adhesive tabs on every seal going except the one seal you need adhesive tabs on. Right, so that's siliconed on there just to hold it in position. It's in no way to seal the bloody thing. Let's get this BPV in there. Right, let's get that in there. Don't get this stuck in here and then bolt it all up and go, oh crap, I've got to take it off again. Not that I've ever done that before. See, it's on its way in the downpipe now. You can come up here for now, pal. Right. So that's sat in the downpipe. So what we need to do now is just get this to sit on the lip between the turbo and the BPV. As soon as it's somewhere near there, you can just lift it up and then with one hand get the clamp back on. Oh, so close. So once it's like this, you need to sort of check the downpipe down here to check that it's sat flush, and just get some tension on this, because see how I've just touched the clamp and it's opened up? Get that down a couple of threads and you'll be golden. So once you've got this nipped up a bit, you can then freely rotate this, because you'll need to get the downpipe on, which I'm going to get on now. We'll get this pressure sensor after turbine pipe up. Jesus, I'm loading the tipper from 20 foot in the air. Lovely. Keep forgetting this every time. We best go and put this on. So I think we'll get our boss in here now for the knock sensor. Then we can get our temperature sensor in. Then we can get our 7th injector in, and we'll get some coolant pipes on, but that should be about it. So let's get this done. This is a bush apparently. This costs a fortune. Send that in there. Give it a tweak. Tidy. Knock sensor going in. One rescued temperature sensor, which I hope works again. I might invest in a brake pipe spanner for this. Best plug this in. And finally, we've got our 7th injector. So we'll just change this O-ring on the 7th injector. We won't be needing that, it's flat. I always get 4 new ones. 2 for here, 2 for the BPV. And that can go in the block. Just put a bit of spray on that to help it go in the block. Well, that'll be tight enough. Then we've got this gasket then to go back in here. Hopefully the bolts hold it in place. We'll just need an 8mm for them, which would be nice. Just fire these in. We'll get this pipe on here. Well, we'll get that bolt in there first. Let's get you in there. So we've got our temperature sensor, our knock sensor, our pressure sensor after turbine pipe, our 7th injector put on, our coolant pipes fitted, our BPV fitted, our clamps tightened. The only things left to do now is to refit the wiring and reattach the knock sensor, because I had to undo it off the bracket because DAF so kindly mount the plugs on the sensors the other way round. So I can't actually unplug a sensor without taking the knock sensor off because the clip's this end. So let's get this done, put some coolant in it and put the induction back on. 3 bolts left. 1 here, 2 there. Let's get it done. Do. In there first. In here second. One humidity temperature sensor. 1 big bolt for here. So our induction's been put on now. Everything else is all bolted up and tied up. And I've got the coolant going into the engine now. So we'll just turn the ignition back on now. The BPV's moved, which is always a good sign. Let's go and have a look at the fault codes. So it's model year 17. Now we'll just go to engine. We'll see what's inactive now. Fault code reading. And as you can see, now we've changed the BPV actuator, everything's inactive. There's no active faults in the truck. My only worry now going forwards is this particulate filter efficiency. That could be a potential issue. But anything to do with the BPV now, that's all been rectified, and obviously it's not in engine protection. So what we'll do is we'll clear the fault codes. We'll start it up, run it for a bit, give it back to the customer, I think. Tidy. Right, let's go run the truck. Let's start her up. Well, I'm happy with that. Let's try and get this cab down and get the last little bit of coolant in this engine, but I don't think it's going to happen. So we're back on the old ECU job. We'll just calibrate the oil level sensor. We just want engine, which is PCI. We'll go into measurements, measurement selection, and we'll just bang in oil. We don't need oil, we just want oil temperature, this, and this. Let's have a look what that says now. See, now it's changed to measurement of the oil level. Yes. So what we'll do now is our oil level sensor calibration. So we'll go into calibration, oil level sensor. Yes, I've accepted the terms and conditions. Oh God, I don't want to read them. I've gone all day. Luckily, there is a procedure here, and we have waited for the time because this is 4 hours later than I've done it. Let's press continue. So now we'll go and switch the key off and wait for 15 seconds. Key back on. We'll press continue. And that's it. Calibration process completed.